Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Illuminated Mind podcast with me, Matthew Ramstein. I'm here with a dear, relatively recent graduate, Esne. How do you pronounce your last name?
Almassi.
Almassi. Good. Welcome,
Yeah.
Esne. So
Thank
you
you.
are definitely a relatively recent graduate, but you've been in the field for a while. I think you have some hypnosis training. You
hmm
do intuitive
hmm
work. Tell us about yourself, and let's dive into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So my name is Esne, and I have been doing this work, not on the surface of it, but in the depth of it. It's really about thoughts and emotions and identifying them and transforming them, and how do you transform them. So hypnosis and the school has just been really wonderful because you can identify emotions and beliefs, but how do you transform them, and what are the tools to transform them? So
Mhm.
those that has been what I've been doing for quite a few years now. And so I what I do is, instead of identifying those feelings and beliefs just with asking the client, I actually integrate an intuitive side to it,
Mhm.
which I think would best be categorized as remote viewing. So who am I? I channel spirit,
Mhm.
but I channel not in a way to impart information from the beyond just for information. I pull information in order to apply it in a very concrete way, to transform emotions and beliefs. And the reason that I use the intuition is mainly to help people who have been highly traumatized.
Mhm.
So they have no longer really they have difficulty knowing what's going on in themselves. So that's basically that's the core of what I do.
Mhm.
And so I specialize with people who have um, been highly traumatized,
Mhm.
basically. Yeah, and
Mhm.
and haven't found other modalities to help them.
Right.
hmm
That's beautiful. And I want to definitely go into the channeling and spirit and those
hmm
themes. Maybe just tell us a little bit about before we dive into some of these deep topics.
Yeah.
Let me jump right into beliefs, emotions, intuition, again, channeling. Let's go there. We'll totally go there. What was your experience like going through this school and kind of what
Yeah.
motivated you to go getting more training because you're already doing some of this work. So yeah,
Yeah.
what's your
Yeah.
experience like and what motivated it?
This honestly, this school has been transformational for me. I kid you not. I have I had my own way, and I used a lot of emotional freedom technique because which is meridian tapping, because it uses the body and it also integrates the mind and the emotions.
Mm,
So I found it was a really great way to get people who are up here
mm,
into their body, but also address the core.
yeah.
So that's what I was doing before, and I still do that quite
Mm,
a bit. But the reason that I was attracted to this school, first of all, it was in my just in it's those one of those things where something keeps coming back to you, and
yeah.
they're,
Yeah.
and you're just being prompted.
Mhm.
And so I was looking for something where I would be able to be true to the intuitive side of my practice,
Mm,
but at the same time, really uh, make sure that I'm really putting in very high standards,
mm,
that I'm being true to also my clients. I don't want to be just relying on intuition
mm,
and not doing due diligence.
mhm.
And so the reason this school was so important is that not only was it deepening my practice by working with the subconscious, but also really making sure that I'm doing due diligence ethically.
Mm,
I'm protecting myself.
mm,
I'm promoting myself in an ethical way. All of that was really, really important to me. So
mm,
initially going towards the school, those were all the things that I found, and frankly, is very rare. Yeah,
mm.
I find. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how much is out there. I don't focus on competition. I just know like I'm doing what I'm doing
Yeah.
because it's so valuable. And I'm glad you found us because I
Yeah.
know that there's a lot of people who are like you who are intuitive, you're helping people. There's techniques out there like EFT, relatively easy to learn, but you don't necessarily have the
Mm.
credentials and training and ethics and HIPAA compliance and
Mhm.
protocols that are like really clearly
Yeah,
structured. And then, of course, I'm
yeah.
glad you had a transformative experience going through the school. It's beautiful. Um,
Mhm.
let's dive into some of the deeper stuff. So, uh, I definitely have been in the intuitive side of the work for the whole time, even before my hypnotherapy studies and my acupuncture Chinese medical studies. I was studying with a medical intuitive who was teaching me how to feel what other people feel, how to look inside their bodies and know what's happening physically. And then I started realizing, especially with my Chinese medical studies, this is so much about beliefs and emotions. Like, why are all these energetic imbalances happening? And there's
Mhm.
environmental toxins, and we get in accidents, but so much illness is psychosomatic. You go to a doctor and they're like, oh, it's just stress. But like you said, the people aren't necessarily in touch with their feelings, and doctors just might call it stress or anxiety or depression, but never really get to the underlying beliefs and emotions that are really struck, or the underlying traumas that are structuring the psyche in that way. And then talk therapy for me just didn't seem like the path to get into that. I found with hypnotherapy, I could really utilize my intuition to tap into their beliefs and emotions, whether they're telling me them verbally or not. But then when we both, the client and myself, we know, hey, that's what's going on. Like, you believe that you're unlovable and worthless and not good enough, and you'll always be alone, and therefore you're sad and you're scared and you feel angry and you feel guilty.
Mhm.
And that's affecting your chakras and your meridians and your organ systems and your behaviors. And it's attracting things or repelling things in your life. And that's the place we need to go. So I wonder if you can tell us more about your work with or your understanding
Mhm.
of intuition when it comes to working with beliefs and emotions.
I totally relate to what you're saying. I'm a Reiki master, and so I do energy work as well. But frankly, it was just frustrating me
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
it kind of felt like I was cleaning up the river, and then it would just get clogged up again, and
yeah.
then I'd clean it up again, and then it'd clog up, and it felt like a waste of my time.
Mm,
And not that I'm not putting down this the energy work at all, because of course it works. You do clean up the
yeah,
river,
yeah.
but it's just that to me it's a little, I compare it sometimes to, if you have a river and let's say you have a log in the river,
Hmm.
all the trash is going to be caught by the log,
Yeah.
and you can go in and you get rid of the trash,
Hmm.
but then eventually more trash is going to come down the river and it gets clogged again.
Yeah.
And so why not just take out the log instead
Hmm.
of cleaning up the trash at every time? And so what that's when emotions and beliefs became more of my focus, and I still do energy work because I find that when you pull out the belief, um, then it can accelerate the process to go in energetically and just clean it up, because you're doing it once and
Hmm.
now the log is gone.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Yeah,
it helps, right?
definitely.
But it has to be in combination.
Hmm.
And and uh yeah, it was very fascinating to me actually to be doing the channeling, because of course this is not me, that
Yeah.
I'm getting, this is not my information.
Uh-huh.
And one example I want to give is, I got a few clients who had carpal tunnel,
Hmm.
and carpal tunnel is very, very painful. It's
Hmm.
where it's almost,
Hmm.
you're debilitated. You can't use one hand. And it was interesting because with all the clients who had this carpal tunnel, I could see the same root, which was these people could not say no.
Hmm. Hmm.
So with these clients, I'd see, they were physically doing a lot. They
Hmm.
they were they were overextending themselves, and their
Hmm.
body was saying no.
Uh-huh.
You won't say no verbally, so I'll say no for you.
Hmm. Right.
So, like an example like that, where
Yeah.
there's a very ingrained belief, and then there
Hmm.
things that sprout from that. So
Hmm.
if you are able to verbalize a no, then your body doesn't have to give you a no,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's also when, and this is maybe a good segue, that's also when I went into shadow work,
Hmm.
because I found, especially with the very traumatized individuals,
Hmm.
there were secondary gains,
Hmm.
and there were um, reasons they were holding on to things
Yeah.
that they didn't want to look at. But by doing it in a very empathic way, and doing the remote viewing where I really understood what they were going through, it almost helped deconstruct the ego so that they weren't defensive and we were actually able to go in. So
Nice. Well said. Beautiful. Yeah, I love it. You covered a lot there. I'm not a Reiki master, but I have Reiki 1 and 2. I got that when I was in college, and then I went into my Chinese medical study. So I learned Reiki before Chinese medicine. I'm like, this is nice, but it seems relatively simple and basic. It works. But
Mhm,
I wanted to learn a lot more about clearing blocks. And so when I went into Chinese medicine, like, okay, well, carpal tunnel, what would we do? We would put needles in the body. We would prescribe herbs. We might do massage. We would recommend lifestyle changes. So somebody might say, well, they just have carpal tunnel because they're typing too much. It's just repetitive strain injury. But I hear you saying, so you tell me if you agree. Like, yes, you could do things that are going to cause your body to
mhm,
scream at you that you need to stop doing that. But the body doesn't motivate itself, right? So, like, what's underneath
mhm.
that log? Why does the energy
Right.
keep getting blocked? Because there's unresolved beliefs and emotions that cause behaviors. And if your inner
Yeah.
being, like you're saying, I really want to go into the channeling and like who, what you feel like you're
Mhm.
channeling.
Yeah.
When you're tapping in and realizing, oh, they're just not honoring their true self. They're not listening to their inner guidance. Their inner guidance is telling them, stop. Their body is screaming at them, stop. But they're not listening to that. So my experience is all roads lead back to the mind because the body isn't motivating its own behaviors. There's other ways to get things done, but this person isn't really in touch with themselves and listening. So,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on, or would you agree that, yeah, there could be a reason somebody might have carpal tunnel physically? You can definitely do things to harm your body, but that wouldn't happen if they were just listening to that inner guidance. And maybe perhaps your work is you listen to that inner guidance for them to let them know
Mhm.
your inner being is telling you you need to stop this, but you're not listening to that because you have certain beliefs and emotions, and in this case, the inability to say no. We're on the same page there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's always it keeps on surprising me every
Mhm.
time, even though I've been doing this work for a while. It still surprises me how convincing a belief can be.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is so convincing.
Hmm.
And when I do the remote viewing, I feel it's almost like I'm stepping into their shoes and I feel the emotions and the
Hmm.
beliefs that
Hmm.
they're feeling, and as though they're mine. And I feel how real it is.
Yeah,
So, it's not a dismissing of what they're experiencing because it is true to them.
yeah.
But then that's, I think, the nature of this matrix is that it is so convincing. It's supposed to be convincing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I kind of compare it sometimes to the fishbowl, like the goldfish in the fishbowl.
Hmm.
The fish doesn't really recognize the water it's in.
Yeah,
It just that's its nature. So if the water is dirty,
yeah.
it's not going to notice that it's dirty. But
Right.
if I'm in a clean fishbowl
Hmm.
and I'm
Hmm.
remote viewing to your dirty
Well
fishbowl,
said.
I'm going to see
Yeah,
that dirt much more
yeah,
clearly than you. And
nice.
so that's the value of the remote viewing, is that I have that I have my own viewpoint that it's very different,
Yeah.
even though I'm feeling and seeing what they see. And so I can say, hey, this is the dirty stuff that
Hmm.
we need to work on.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I want to just emphasize how convincing the ego can be, because
Hmm.
it really is, and it's supposed to be in so many ways. That's the matrix. But I think our job is to kind of poke holes into that
Yeah.
and say, hey, like, wake up, like, this is not the truth.
Hmm.
And even like a little poke can sometimes be enough. It doesn't have to be completely gone. It's
Hmm.
just for that awareness to be there, like questioning.
Hmm.
That sometimes is really big just in and itself, I feel.
Yeah, sure. I
Mm.
love to talk about remote viewing in my book, The Sutras on Healing and Enlightenment, which I wrote when I was living in the Himalayas in India doing healing work with people. I was kind of there on my own sabbatical, but people heard about what I did. I started getting clients, and I was spending so much time meditating in the Himalayas every day, but also working with clients. So they'd come in for like 2 hours in the afternoon and be like, okay, back to my own personal growth time. And I'd meditate, but I'd meditate on them. And I started realizing, I think I'm like really, I wasn't like totally new at that moment, but like I'm really deeply connected to these people. Minds are joined. I'm feeling their stuff. I'm feeling their beliefs, their emotions, their symptoms. And so one of the chapters in that book is called Long Distance Healing and the Taking On of Karma, because long distance healing,
Mm.
you're basically remote viewing them. And I love your metaphor of the fishbowl because when I teach this for our students, before your client comes in, get really, really clear. Get to that place of
Mm.
neutral. If you have your own issue, you'll
Mm.
know what it is, but you still can
Mm.
say, okay, well, I might have a headache, but that's mine. All right, got it. But now I'm going to get as clear as I can. I'm going to get in touch with my client, whether they're in the office or on Zoom or totally remote, where you're not even seeing them. And you tap into what's going on for them. Then say, oh, okay. They have these symptoms, they have these beliefs, they have these emotions. I can see the fishbowl isn't clear, and I can see, yeah, those beliefs that they're so convinced are real. So my
Mm.
experience has been I work that out within my own system when I do that. Like, oh, okay, they have stomach ulcers because they're holding all this anger because they believe they're powerless and trapped. I can feel it in the third chakra. It's knotting it up there. It's blocking the liver, chi flow, and yeah, that's manifesting as the symptoms. So what I do internally is I say, I go to spirit, and you maybe call it channeling. And I'm like, okay, there's a belief here that we're powerless. Like we are powerless. It's kind of, it becomes ours at that moment because minds are joined. It's now in my system. And I know I have to I'm not really responsible for healing it myself. I turn to spirit and it's like, okay, what's the truth? And I kind of know the truth. Of course, we're not powerless, but it's like as if I'm that client. What's the truth?
Mm.
Okay, I am powerful and strong and capable. I accept the thought. It changes the emotion. Now I don't feel angry because I'm like, no, I have my strength and my power. Now I feel my third chakra open. I'm like, and it shifts in me. And once it feels clear, I surrender it, let it go. And then quite often when I talk to that client later, they're feeling better. Um, is that similar to your internal
It's
process? Yeah,
it's such a beautiful, yeah, way to explain it. It's so beautiful. I love talking about this with you because
yeah,
I don't really talk to anybody who does this,
yeah.
or at least talks about it.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when I'm channeling, I'm yawning. I'm like a tear. It's not
Hmm.
tears quite, but my eyes are tearing. My nose runs. I always
Hmm.
have tissues around. I even have a tissue right now, um, because It's like it almost feels like I'm filtering the energy,
Yeah.
filtering.
Hmm.
And so when I arrive at the session, it's not that they're healed, but it's that I've already kind of processed the energy, as you said.
Hmm.
So I know where they're at and I know where they're going.
Hmm.
And I know where this has to go by the end of the session.
Hmm.
And I explain it to them. And I think you're right in a way that there is some healing work done even before, because I have heard from clients that they'll feel me channeling their
Hmm.
stuff as
Yeah.
I'm doing it, and they'll start yawning,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
almost at the same time, across the planet, because these are, I'm in Canada, my client could be in Europe.
Hmm.
um and yeah, and so it's so wonderful to hear you say that, because I think that the channeling process, it's not just to put yourself in their position. It's almost you're doing some prep cleaning as
Yeah.
you do
Yeah.
that.
Definitely. Yeah, you're deeply aware of what their issue is. And I'll do that when the client's sitting there with me in the office or on Zoom. Like, okay, let's
Mm.
be with this. And I'm always close my eyes to tap. I can't even talk about it without closing my eyes, like tap in. Okay, I hear what you're saying. And it paves the way for knowing, like, all right, this is what we need to work on. Because we
Yeah.
talk about with Dr. Eugene Gendlin's focusing model, or what we kind of call now body felt sense facilitation work, help the client to find their felt sense. What are the beliefs and emotions connected to that? And then there's the resonating step where you just know, okay, yep, that's what's going on. The client confirms, yep, my ulcer is really rooted deeply with my anger, and it's happening because I feel powerless. And you might be like, yep, I already knew that. But yeah, my
Mm,
experience is as part of the overall healing process, we're healing it within ourselves so that the shift is, in a sense, already made. So I've just really seen more and more, like my personal mission statement used to be, it would end saying, for myself and others. All the good work I want to do is for myself and others. But then that changed to myself as others, realizing
mm,
we're just fingers on one hand, right? We all just grew out of this earth, or deeper than that. We're all spiritual beings, manifesting this experience, but we're all the same one spirit. So let's talk about, I love when people, I have a lot of students who use the word channeling. I wouldn't
mhm,
say that I channel. My book, The Sutras on Healing and Enlightenment, was definitely written in a meditative, I guess all my books are written in a meditative state. They come from spirit. I feel like I'm inspired from spirit. But when I hear people channel quite often, uh, they talk about channeling other beings. And I believe there's other
mhm,
non-physical beings for sure, but I also think they dismiss their own greatness by saying something like, well, I'm just a human being, I'm just a body, right? And I'm a lower self and I
mhm,
have a higher self. Like what you
mhm.
think you're a human being, you don't identify yourself as spirit. So is there anything higher than you if you are spirit? So I'd be curious about your thoughts of who are you channeling? Is it someone else? And maybe that relates to who you think you are in relationship to it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
It's such a good question. Such a good question because when when you learn Reiki, for instance, you
Mm,
learn that you're just the channel,
yeah.
right? None of it
Yeah.
comes from you.
Right.
So very from the beginning,
Mm,
because that is really an introduction to channeling,
hmm.
just as you're channeling
Yeah.
a very particular energy, but
Hmm.
it's not in words. But Reiki is an introduction to channeling in many
Hmm.
ways. The reason I think it's such a good question is because uh, I think, personally, my biggest challenge in this lifetime is self-worth.
Hmm.
And and that is something that is in my astrology chart, and it's a theme, and it's everybody has their theme, and that's mine.
Hmm.
And I feel like that has come through particularly in channeling because I have for a very long time just the idea is putting myself aside. The
Hmm.
idea is to let whatever needs to come
Hmm.
through, and to be as clear of a channel as possible.
Hmm.
And that's been a motivator for me to heal,
Hmm.
actually, because the more that I heal, the clearer the channel, of
Right.
course. Um, but I think you make a really good point because in order to channel, you have to have a certain um, you have to have a certain level of mastery because you have to recognize your own energy, you have to recognize these other energies, you have to recognize how to interpret, you have to recognize what's coming through your own brain
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and what is actually like the message itself.
Right.
There's an art to it for
Hmm.
sure. There's an art to it. And when I channel, at the very beginning when I began channeling, I cleared my entire space
Hmm.
energetically, completely.
Hmm.
And then I practiced by just asking certain entities to come in. Okay, I'd like to
Uh-huh.
speak to you.
Hmm.
Okay, thank you very much. You can
Hmm.
leave. And so that was my practice of identifying what the energies were
Hmm.
and how to lay my boundaries. Now, when I channel, when I say I channel, I'm you could say maybe there's a little bit of religious aspect to me. I work pretty much only with source
Hmm.
and angelics.
Hmm.
I'm not someone who works with I'm not interested in kind of the Middle Earth
Hmm.
spirits.
Hmm.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I am particularly aligned with angelics,
Hmm.
and the angelic realm helps me go into the shadow work. I am completely protected because I work with the angelic so
Yeah.
much. So am I channeling myself? like I have a good relationship with my higher self, but I tend to work with like a collective, and they tend to have higher knowledge. They're very high vibrational beings.
Hmm.
And so I can feel the dissonance between me and them, but the more that I channel them, the more that they also become part of me.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting question,
Yeah.
actually. You know, what does mean? What does that
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah, I appreciate it. And yeah, I could definitely go deeper there. I want to go into the protection theme that you mentioned because I always have students
Yeah.
ask about that.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I know I've met people throughout the years and they're like, you're just like an angel. I'm like, I don't need that as an ego trip, but I definitely people say that. I know in the Anahat meditation system that I teach, meditation 10 is called wings. And when you're meditating, you're like unfolding this sense of, I am an angel. So it goes back to, are you just a human being? You're not a body. Like when you say, like, I
Hmm.
channel Reiki, it's like, well, you are Reiki, right? Like you are
Hmm.
universal life force energy. So in the
Yeah.
Course of Miracles, it talks about level confusion. If you think your body, you have a higher self. If you know your spirit, you are higher self. If you they and are there other angels? Yes. It's just I would
Hmm.
say tag, you're it. You're one of them. And I hear you saying that keeps you safe. In fact, today's Course in
Yeah.
Miracles lesson is something along the lines of like, thank you for your peace. I know I'm safe, and something like that. It's definitely today's
Mm.
lesson is about peace and safety. And love needs no defense. So I always teach my students when they ask, but are we going to take on people's stuff? Well, yeah, it's possible. I know three dear
Mm.
colleagues who are extremely clairsentient, clairaudient, clairvoyant, intuitive, psychic, and I met two of them were my students. One was a colleague, and I would say within a year or two of meeting these people, they had died, and they all died of a similar type of cancer. Like that can't be a
Mm.
coincidence that people who are
Mm.
so empathic, who take on other people's stuff, like long distance healing, we're talking about with remote viewing, but my book talks about the taking on of karma. And when you're processing someone's negative belief in you, it's affecting your physiology, right? If I sit there and go,
Mhm.
okay, I feel like I'm powerless, like my client does. Oh, and I feel really angry, and oh, it's locking up my stomach. Well, now I will start having digestive issues if I don't clear
Mm.
that through my system. So, what are your thoughts on protection? You said, do you need
Mhm.
protection? I don't believe that you
Mm.
do, but I know people ask
Yeah.
that. And like I said, I think some people don't know how to process this well, even though they're deeply intuitive, and they could potentially end up getting sick physically.
There are two things. I mean, one,
Mhm.
I want to do a shout out to your school first of all, because I think I think to be in this work
Mhm.
is to commit to your own healing.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of healing that happened when I was doing I did from all the way to transpersonal,
Mhm.
and I did I think about I did at least 2 sessions a week
Mhm.
with two different people,
Mhm.
sometimes 3 hours long,
Mhm.
and also did on them.
Mhm.
Right. So that's a lot of healing. And at the same time, I was going through a lot. So it was perfect because as
Mhm.
it was coming up, it was being processed, coming up, being processed.
Mhm.
And I feel that you can't separate one from the other. You cannot present yourself to clients saying, I'm going to help you if you're carrying around stuff. So you have a commitment. It's not even just to yourself, it's to your clients to actually deal with your stuff.
Mhm.
And I felt like doing the course, the year long until transpersonal, um, was that for me.
Mhm.
It was not just learning, I was healing
Mhm.
big time.
Mhm.
And I, at the beginning it was like, oh, it's gonna be practice buddies, okay. But when I'm already doing this work, there's
Mhm.
no way I'm practicing, like this is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Sure.
doing this for real.
Mhm.
So the practice was not just practice at all. It was like, I'm gonna go as deep as I can for you, and you're gonna
Mhm.
go as deep as you can for me.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. The second thing is, and it ties into the protection, is my experience with lower vibrational entities is that they don't like light.
Hmm.
So they will go away if you're light.
Hmm.
But if you're hanging on to things,
Yeah.
those are the equivalent of doorways.
Hmm.
And so it's not, I would invite people to think of entities or any kind of lower vibrations. I invite you to see them as symptoms instead of causes.
Uh-huh.
That there's nothing causing the strife in your life.
Hmm.
It's more the way that Spirit has explained it to me is it's like leaving a steak in the sun, a piece of steak in the sun,
Hmm.
and expecting that no flies are going to come.
Uh-huh. Nice. Well
and
said.
and and you're swatting away the flies and like, oh God, I got to get rid of all the flies. But in reality, you just have to take the steak out of the sun. The steak is not supposed to be in the sun. It's rotting in the sun.
Right.
And so, the steak is the equivalent of beliefs and emotions. And you release those beliefs and emotions, and the flies have nothing to be attracted to anymore,
Got it. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So when you say like, do I need protection or not? I think you are where you are.
Hmm.
So if you have a lot of negative beliefs still, and there's still subconscious stuff going on, um, what I would say to you is just be aware of that
Hmm.
and invite in maybe higher entities like the angels to protect you for where you're at, because that is where you are,
Hmm.
and there's nothing wrong with that. But that ultimately, the more that you heal, the less you'll need that, because you will be the light yourself.
Perfect. Well said.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's pretty much
Yeah.
my response that you don't need to
Yeah.
protect yourself when you say, but I'm so empathic, I take on other people's stuff.
Mm-mm.
Empathy could be defined as I'm feeling bad because I'm seeing your pain and I can relate to it. So when I see like, if the client had stomach issues and they feel powerless and they feel angry and they feel betrayed, that could very well push my own button. And we do tend to attract clients who have our issues. So they're basically a mirror of us. That's why it's like myself as others, not just, oh, that's just your belief that you're powerless. I know I can't relate to that at all, right? Or like you talked about worth, right? If I'm like, okay, I'm helping
Yeah.
Esne through her issues about self-worth, if I just sit here saying, oh no, my self-worth is 100%, right? No, it's like whatever issue you brought up is now our issue. My
Yeah.
experience is as long as we effectively resolve it in a session, we have nothing to worry about. But if
Yeah.
we don't, I now have a responsibility, whether I'm doing this through Zoom in person or just remote viewing, I now have a responsibility to you, to me, to heal and resolve that. So the way I hear you speaking, it's more of a physician heal thyself model. You don't need to really protect yourself. You just need to realize you have the stake out in the sun, or you're swimming in your fishbowl full of your own feces, and you are attracting negative things to you, or the feces, the rotting meat itself is what's causing the problem. So
Yeah.
yeah, what I tell students is don't put up a protective wall because that implies that you're vulnerable, and then the stuff's going to stick to the wall. But
Yeah.
really, just be the light and emanate light. I usually say, could you
Yeah.
imagine asking like Christ or Buddha or some angelic being? Do you put up protective walls when you think that Christ was going up to healing lepers and he was like putting up protective barriers? Like or casting out demons, you're not saying, well, I hope they don't harm little me. It's like, no, I am the light of the world and nothing can harm me. So it sounds
Yeah.
like you're saying if you come from that place, you know you're invulnerable.
Yeah, and I think you say it so well. Like the walls are not it. If
Yeah.
you ask for protection, what you're asking for is light.
Uh-huh.
And you can ask for other entities to surround you with light. And
Yeah.
that's not a wall at all. That's
Beautiful.
love,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So it's I'm not able to have that love vibration right now. Okay, well, I'm going to invite in light beings to surround me with light.
Hmm.
And that's a totally different thing than go fighting against or
Right.
building barriers, right?
Yeah, right. Well,
Yeah.
we teach what we are. If
Yeah.
we're coming from a place of fear, we're teaching it.
Yeah.
If we say if we're coming from a place of light and love, we're teaching that. We're demonstrating it. It's so beautiful because everybody like people who are attracted to our school, they so deeply want to help others, but there's just so much they need to heal within themselves. And just taking that step to realize If I'm in a place of perfect love, I am perfectly safe, across the board. But as soon as I'm choosing fear, I'm putting myself in a place where I need now miracles. Of course, in Miracles, I actually believe says something like, don't attempt to perform miracles if you're still in a place of fear, right? You're teaching fear, you're not teaching love. So as long as you're coming from that place of love and light, and the protection you ask for is light, then you're safe in that regard. We're getting towards the end of time. Are there closing words you would want to share? If you had a message for the whole world, what do you think would be most important for someone to hear? What might that be?
I think my message is that I think that there's a lot of change going on in the world,
Mm,
that we're almost being forced collectively to confront things
mm,
like we never have in
mm,
history.
mm,
And sometimes I feel that there's a lot of hopelessness around that because
mm,
people don't know how to change.
mm,
And even when they want to, sometimes they don't know how to.
mm,
And they're going to the conventional routes like talk therapy, and it's not working for them, or they're still on their medication and
mm,
having to change it up all the time. And I think that this work honestly is, I mean, nothing is the silver bullet, but it is the answer to me. It
mm,
is what we need right now collectively in order to survive.
mm, mm,
And not only to survive, but to thrive, not
mm,
just be dragged by the change, but
mm, mm.
actually like be ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So,
I appreciate you saying that because
yeah.
we're not the only ones, but I can definitely relate to, wow, this is a significant time in history. I mean, I think every generation has felt that, like, oh, maybe this is the apocalypse. They've been saying that for thousands of years. But we now know we're dealing with massive threats between nuclear war, AI, and climate change. Something could easily kill us all off. And the economies are really struggling. There's protests all over the place, sicknesses like we've never seen before. I can definitely appreciate you talking about where's the hope? And my experience is identifying who you truly are. Like when I have students, they say, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, all right, well, okay, your whole life is falling apart. Got it. In A Course in Miracles, it says you want to identify that all of that is happening for your greatest good, right? Nothing's happening by accident. This is an opportunity for you to come into harmony with who you truly are. So I basically say all you need to prioritize right now, while everything else might be falling away, is who are you and what is your purpose? What is your mission? And I couldn't agree more. All roads lead back to the mind, and your purpose has to be part of the global healing. If not, what's the point, right? And I do believe everybody's dharma, your mission, your purpose, your function is to be the light of the world, is to help to heal the world. And that starts with healing yourself. And the Reiki, massage, acupuncture, Tuina, Shiatsu, herbology, homeopathy. I studied all of it. I'm like, it doesn't matter until you're dealing with the mind. You're not really getting to the root cause. We know medication can't get to the mind directly, and we know talk therapy, with all due respect, people are still really struggling. Once I realized hypnotherapy was a way to get to those beliefs and emotions in the subconscious and change those, I knew that would change energy, meridian blockages, remove logs, clear up the dirt in the fishbowl, get that steak out of the sun. It really all just led to the power of the mind. So I so appreciate this discussion. If somebody wanted to reach you for private sessions for channeling or hypnotherapy or EFT or whatever else good stuff you do,
Yeah.
how would they
Yeah.
contact you?
So you can go to my website. So it's www.naturalesne.com. And yeah, you can also email me natural.esne@gmail.com. And yeah, that's how you can contact me. And thank you so much, Matthew, for this beautiful talk. Such beautiful closing words, I have to say. Yeah, beautiful. It couldn't be better. Thank
Nice.
you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Esne. I appreciate you. And Esne is ESNE for those who maybe don't see it on the screen, to be able to contact you. Thank you so much. I look forward to future collaborations with you. I know you're really into growing with us now, and that's an invitation for anybody who's part of our school who's watching this. If you want to be interviewed here to get your name out there, or to grow with us, for sure. So I look forward to future collaborations, and thank you so much for being here.
Me too. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Esne.
Have a beautiful week,
Thanks.
everybody.
Thank you.